Good afternoon. My name is Donna Marie Collins. I'm the hearing examiner that will be presiding over this afternoon's zoning hearing. Today we have a request to amend the development approvals of an existing planned development known as Savanna Lakes. The details of this request will be explained during the applicant's presentation. For those of you who are not familiar with this process, the team representing the property owner requesting the change will present the request. Their presentation may include one or more witnesses, during which they will explain various aspects of the property, including transportation impacts, impacts to the environment, and any other details that may be relevant to compatibility. Following their presentation, the county planner that prepared the staff report will make a brief presentation. The county staff has recommended approval of this request with a number of conditions. We will discuss many of those conditions during the presentations. At the conclusion of staff and applicant's presentation, I may have some questions, but then we'll turn to members of the public. If you are here from the public, that is the time that I will call each one of your names. If you filled out a public participation form, you'll come to the podium, you'll state your name, where you reside in relation to the project, and what your concerns may be. It's also a good time for you to ask any questions. We will note all questions during the public input portion, and then at the conclusion of all the public input, we will turn back to staff and applicant to address all the questions that were raised during that time. Then we will go back to the parties to make some concluding remarks, and I will make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. That hearing will follow the issuance of my recommendation from anywhere to 2 to 6 weeks. If you completed a public participation form here and provided your email address, you will receive notice of the final board hearing via email. Since all testimony and evidence that I accept during a zoning hearing must be under oath, I'm going to administer the oath to everyone in the room. At this time, if you intend to speak on the record, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you enter into the record will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. I'm ready to begin.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For your record, my name is Richard Aiken. I'm an attorney here with Henderson Franklin, representing the applicant this morning or this afternoon. Before we get started, I do have a couple of just housekeeping matters for your record. I have a copy of the applicant's 48-hour letter, which I'll provide to you. The applicant's 48-hour letter notes only one correction to the staff report, and that is with regard to an attachment E, deviation number 7. There was a reference to tract T1. It should have been tract K. We noted that in our 48-hour letter. Spoke to Mr. Mendez. He is in agreement, so that update has been made. There is no disagreement with staff on anything, so that's it. So I'll provide you with a copy of that. I also have 2 copies of our PowerPoint presentation, as well as a full-size copy of our master concept plan and an 11 by 17. The master concept plan is the same as that within the application materials and staff report, so there are no changes to that.
Okay, thank you. This is the 48-hour letter.
Yes.
That's applicant exhibit A. This is the PowerPoint. This will be, oh, that's applicant exhibit 1. I'm sorry. Applicant exhibit 2 is the PowerPoint.
Extra copy for you.
Oh, thank you.
And there's a copy of the master concept plan in both sizes.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So again, we're here this afternoon on the Savanna Lakes MPD, which is case number DCI 2024-00037. We have our project team here this morning or afternoon with us. Jeff Wasco is the project engineer. He's with Baracco and Associates. You'll hear from him today a little bit about a couple of the deviations that have to do with the design as well as the water management on the project. Bridget Thoreau is the ecologist with Passarella and Associates. She'll talk about the assessments done of the property. Ted Treesh is our transportation planner. He's with TR Transportation. He'll talk about the traffic studies done in connection with this application. And finally, Dan DeLisi, who has the majority of our presentation here today, is our AICP certified planner. He's our land use planner for the project with DeLisi Inc. Each of these individuals has been accepted as an expert in front of the Lee County Hearing Examiner and would ask that they be accepted here today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. DeLisi to go through the details of it.
All right, thank you.
For the record, Dan DeLisi, land use planner, consultant for the applicant. So I'm going to give an overview. I'll go through the standards of review, compliance with comp plan, compatibility, that area. Then I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Wasco, who's going to give you a little bit more detail on the site itself, the two added deviations that we're requesting, and surface water. And then it'll go to Bridget, who will talk about the ecology on the site, and then Ted will finish up with the transportation. So the property is located, you can see it on the map here, located on the south side of Milwaukee Boulevard. The property we're talking about is an overall mixed-use plan development, which is in red. That's the Savanna Lakes MPD. The portion of the MPD that's being amended is, in terms of the design of the site, is this 371 plus acre area in yellow. So this is really the area we're talking about, but we're adding, because we're increasing the density, we're increasing it for the overall MPD, even though this area is under active development and moving forward. I'll show you a little bit more about this site. This is school board, which is in active process of moving forward. They haven't moved forward with any land development that I know of yet, but they're in active design. And then I know Lennard continues to move forward in this area as well.
All right, so that one site you pointed out is under contract to the school district, and they're going to be developing it?
It is owned by the school district.
Okay.
And they're in the process of designing at least this portion of it. My understanding is this is going to be an elementary school, and I had also been under the understanding that it was enough land to do an elementary and a middle school, but they're not moving forward with the middle school at this point in time. There are other people who have more information on that, and they can speak to that specifically. You could see on the plan, Milwaukee Boulevard has been extended through the site already. That was part of the MPD that was approved. Homestead is here on the east of the property. Grant Boulevard borders portions of the property as it moves north. And then again, this middle part of the MPD is owned by the Lehigh Acres Municipal Service Improvement District, otherwise known as LAMPSID. They're in active management of these wetland areas. Surrounding uses, single family on all sides, really. It's typical Lehigh platted communities. I will note the RPD on the south side of the MPD. This was recently rezoned at the beginning of this year for multifamily. Cypress Manor, I did this rezoning, but otherwise it's mostly single family. There is a parcel here that used to be part of the MPD. It was taken out of the MPD. It's commercial, both zone commercial. This has been developed as a quasi-commercial use. I mean, it's being utilized by Lee County for government services uses, but it is zone commercial. From a future land use standpoint, I'll give a little bit more detail, but we're in the urban community land use category, urban area within Lee County. As I said before, the proposed rezoning requests an increase of units from 1,477 to 2,300 residential units. We're requesting to reconfigure the design of the MPD in this area specifically. We're asking to diversify the product type, so some smaller lot single-family units. It's more in line with today's single-family market, and it's also a distinction from what else is going on in Lehigh Acres. So you added diversification of product type in the area. And we're asking for 2 new deviations, as well as a relocation of the commercial area, the remaining commercial from this parcel over to right here, closer to the existing commercial that was taken out of the MPD. So now I'll go through the standards of approval, at least some of them, and then of course transportation and access, Ted will cover, and environment, Bridget will cover. So as I noted before, we're in the urban community future land use category. Urban community allows up to 6 units an acre. We are well within that, as the staff report notes. Currently the MPD is at 1.75 units an acre. We're going up to about 2.8 units an acre. On this property alone, we did a calculation of what density could be generated, and it was almost enough for the entire MPD area, about 2,100 units between the preserved wetlands and the uplands. So we're well within the density range of the urban community future land use category. Objectives 2.1 and 2.2 talk about development location and development timing. We're in an area that's highly developed. It's Lehigh Acres. We have development all around us on all sides. This is an infill property, so location is prime for development. The timing is right, given the urban infrastructure in the area. Talked about the school sites. The school-owned property is right here. It was just pointed out to me prior to the hearing that the school board actually sold a property to the Lehigh Acres Fire District, which is right around here. So the fire district has an additional site as well. But there are multiple schools in the area. There's an existing fire station right here. There's another fire station up here. So urban services are all around us. And from the standpoint, from a larger picture planning standpoint, as staff made in their staff report, it's a better utilization of the property itself to increase the density on the property in an area where there's urban services and development all around you. Goal 5 is to accommodate sufficient residential or accommodate sufficient residential to accommodate growth in the county with a variety of housing types. As I said before, part of the proposal is to add for smaller lot single-family units so that we can diversify the type of housing in the area. The current property development regulations are, single-family, much more consistent with, everything else in Lehigh Acres, which consistency sometimes can be thought of in a positive way, but from a planning standpoint, really it's diversification of housing types that you want to see to appeal to a wider range of incomes and demographics, which is exactly what the Lee Plan is trying to achieve. Policy 5.1.2 directs development away from areas with hazards. We are not in in the coastal high hazard area or an area where other hazards exist. So we meet that policy as well. Policy 25.10.1 encourages development in Lehigh Acres to retain indigenous area within Lehigh Acres as opposed to mitigating off-site. Part of what we're doing with this proposal and the redesign, even though we're increasing density, we're also increasing preservation. So we're increasing preservation by a little over 10 acres. So the remaining preservation on this site will be 49.06 acres, whereas the current plan development requires, I think it's 38.3 acres.
You mean overall or just for your pod?
Just for the portion that we're changing. So for the portion, but the preserve areas on the rest of the PD are still the preserve areas on the rest of the PD.
Right.
So we're not changing those. Those are still the same preserve areas. On this area, the areas that were required to be preserved totaled a little over 38 acres. We're increasing that 38 acres to 49 acres. So
Addition is shown in green, existing is white with little flecks.
yeah, the green is on this map is what was part of the preserve on the original, on the current master
reverse,
concept
okay.
plan. The white is what we are proposing to preserve, so we're expanding those preserve areas.
Okay, and do you already have all your jurisdictional letters or whatever on that, or is this not a question of that?
It's not, we're going through the ERP process now. I have to let Jeff answer that.
Okay, so that is not gonna affect your count number depending on how that comes through, is
No.
that correct?
No,
Because you're under the density.
we're well within the
Yeah.
density range, yeah. And, I mean, just based on the preserve area alone and the upland area, yeah, we're well within the density range. The final Lee plan policy I'll mention, and I apologize that it's hidden by the camera. Policy 17.3.5 talks about community engagement, which is partially implemented by the Land Development Code, Section 33-1401, which requires a public meeting in Lehigh Acres, and we did meet with the Lehigh Acres Architectural Planning and Zoning Review Board.
Wait, I wanted to ask you about that because this project, I believe, was originally approved in 1999, and that predated the Lehigh Community Plan. And what the code says is that if your approvals predated the adoption of the plan, compliance is optional. I appreciate that you had the community meeting, though. My question is, with regard to the site design, is the plan to conform to the community plan LDC regs or not? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I need to acknowledge that, like in this resolution, if you're not going to comply, and that you have that ability not to comply.
I don't think we're asking for anything different than what's required in the Lehigh Acres community plan.
Okay.
Certainly, we weren't
So
seeking any
notwithstanding
deviations.
the potential for exemption, you're going to comply. I
Yes.
realize that the requirements are really not that onerous, but
Yeah.
I wanted to get that on the record.
Well, for residential, yes, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So, again, from a compatibility standpoint, surrounding uses, we have single-family RS1 to our west. To our north, we have, this is inactive development as part of the MPD. I believe there are townhouse units coming up here.
Different property owner.
Different
developing
property
that.
owner, yeah. Yeah, this is, I believe Lennar is developing this property. Again, this is commercial site, so we're locating the commercial right here, adjacent to the existing commercial. closer to Homestead and Milwaukee, where, you know, hopefully we'll get more traffic and more market for the commercial. Single family all around except for the multifamily that was recently rezoned. So we're fairly consistent with the surrounding uses, certainly compatible with the surrounding uses, I think we're consistent with that criteria. And then finally, I mentioned urban services before, but we do have a letter of service availability from FGUA for potable water and sanitary sewer. And with that, I will hand it over to Jeff Waskow to talk about the engineering aspects of the plan.
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, my name is Jeff Waskow, professional engineer at Baracco & Associates. I've been with that firm for 13 years. I've been previously recognized as a civil engineering expert in this forum before. And I do have a resume on file with my credentials, but I believe Richard had got us accepted earlier. In addition, I am the engineer of record for the applicant's property that is within this overall master concept plan. All right, so first I want to expand on some of the deviation requests that we have from Land Development Code. The first one, Deviation 11, seeks relief on the requirement for dead-end streets to end in a circular turnaround. We have the site designed so that there are no dead-end streets that exceed 150 feet. And that's consistent with the Florida Fire Prevention Code. And we received a letter from the Lehigh Acres Fire District of no objection. That was included in the staff review application. Deviation 12 seeks relief from the requirement of a setback of 50 feet between excavation, namely lake excavation, and any private property line under separate ownership. The reason we're asking for this deviation is because of the overall master concept design and the selling of different properties within that master concept plan. So I'm going to use this pointer.
So what is the alternative setback? If it's not 50, what's it going to be?
Well, in this case, there are existing lakes that exist today, which are on the property line.
So zero setback.
So zero setback. And so really this deviation would just clean up some of the things that already exist within the MCP since there's been portions sold off.
So is that limited to existing lakes?
Yeah, so there are, I was actually taking a greater look at this morning. There's one area of the site that, oops, let me go back here. Which one's the pointer? Okay, every lake that is adjacent to any other private property exists, and that includes this section and this entire east boundary. There's one section of lake here which does not exist currently, so that area could have a setback that's greater than zero. So 30 or 50 feet with the LDC.
Well, I'm asking, am I limiting it to existing lakes only, or is this going to extend to the new lake?
There are areas where we would request either 30 feet if it was a new lake that's not adjacent to residential. There's about 3 different instances that we're talking about. I can try to point them out.
I don't want to go to zero
Right.
in every area if that can be accommodated, more could be accommodated, because obviously this is a safety concern.
Right, right. I don't.
Well, I'll give you time to take a look, and we'll circle back to that.
Absolutely. Because there are about 3 different scenarios, so it would need.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I just want to put a finer point on it.
that's fine. All right, so next, that takes care of our 2 deviations that we're requesting. Next is the stormwater management plan. Some history on that. The entirety of the master concept plan is part of an existing environmental resource permit and stormwater management system that was issued in 2007. Portions were constructed, most notably, a large portion of the lakes were constructed and all the controlling structures that limit the discharge and the peak rates from stormwater events. We have formally submitted an ERP modification that's consistent with our changes to the master concept plan to the South Florida Water Management District, as well as LAMCID, since LAMCID controls the large conservation areas in the middle of the site. So this slide here shows the existing ERP and how it covers the entire master concept boundary. The applicant's property falls wholly within this basin YT4, so we're just reconfiguring lakes. However, any changes that we're doing are consistent with the approved permit peak discharge rates, control elevations, and any of the peak stormwater elevations. They're all consistent with that original permit.
So the modification is just to reflect the new layout then?
Yes. And, slight changes in land use with impervious area to include the new wetland areas or preservation areas. And to answer the question from earlier, I do believe there's a JD, but I can let Bridget speak more to that from the environmental side. So prior to submitting to both of those agencies, we have coordination with the engineer of record for the school parcel because we're in a shared water management system within a single basin. So we've met with Jason White, reviewed where actually, let me go here. So prior to the school board getting this parcel, we showed stopping the system, but through our permitting efforts with the district, we're going to make the 2 systems commingle. And we've also met with LAMCID and formally submitted to LAMCID too, as they have interest in the conservation areas, and it's also part of the water management system. So that concludes my portion of the presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
Okay, well, we'll have you come back up later when you get a closer look at the lakes.
Sure.
And we will identify what those setbacks should be.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you.
Were you going to testify as to the drainage plan or somebody else talking about that? Why don't you give me an overview?
Okay, sure. So the previous image was the existing ERP where I pointed out everything falls wholly within this basin YT4. So generally speaking, we can assume a division in the site where this side outfalls to an existing canal system through here. There is an existing control structure that was part of that original permit. And as part of these modifications, there's no modifications to that control structure. It's remaining the same. So everything's consistent with the approved permits. And then generally in here, everything flows to this area and to the other canal system on the east side, which has a controlling structure, which LAMCID operates. And there's no modifications to that either. So everything's remaining. even though the layout is being adjusted, everything's consistent with the approved permit.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just, Jeff, just clarify one thing,
Sure.
please? So you're saying a lot of here's and there's, and so just generally speaking, when you were saying that everything on the west side of the project.
So the west side of the project outfalls to an existing control structure to the north, to the Lehigh Canal system. And I should clarify, this one's outfalling to the north, this one's outfalling to the south. However, they all the Lehigh canals eventually discharge to Harns Marsh, and then ultimately the Orange River, Caloosahatchee.
And am I correct to say that the design of the stormwater management is to manage the stormwater that generates or falls on the site without discharging it onto somebody else's site? It discharges into the existing planned, and it will discharge into the canals, correct?
That is correct, and it's going to do it in a manner that's consistent with the approved permit.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Bridget Terrio. I'm a senior ecologist with Passarella and Associates, and I'm here to testify as an expert in environmental sciences, which will include indigenous vegetation, wetlands, and listed wildlife species. So let me bounce ahead. So looking at the project site, the site does total 371.65 acres. Passarella and Associates delineated the land use features and habitat types back in October 2023, utilizing the Florida Land Use Cover Classifications and Form System, also known as FLUX. And in looking at the FLUX for the site, only about 19% of the project site is made up of native indigenous habitat types per Lee County standards. The remaining 81% is comprised of non-indigenous habitats, so this includes disturbed lands, areas with greater than 75% coverage of exotic species, surface waters, as well as man-made features such as berms and roads. For the indigenous habitats, these are native systems that include less than 75% coverage of exotic vegetation and includes palmetto prairies, pine forest, cabbage palm hammocks, hardwood conifer mixed areas, cypress, and wet prairies. In looking at our wetlands on site, which is the green shaded area on the figure, we have about 44.48 acres of wetlands. And for the surface waters, which is the blue shaded area, that totals 76.41 acres. Our wetland habitats include hydric melaleuca, hydric pine, cypress, wet prairies, and hydric disturbed land habitat types. And our other surface waters include those already created lakes from the previously permitted project. We do have a formal wetland JD from the site. It was issued by South Florida Water Management District on June 11th, 2024. So this is valid for 5 years. And any wetland impacts associated with this project is being handled through the Water Management District ERP process at the moment. So moving on to the protected species found on site, Passarella and Associates did conduct a protected species survey per Lee County requirements. It spanned a total of 4 days between December 2023 and January 2024. The species documented during the survey included 110 gopher tortoise burrows, 1 little blue heron, 1 snowy egret, and 3 limpkins. No listed plant species were observed during the survey. And during the development order process, we will be updating the protected species survey on site, as well as preparing a protected species management plan that will incorporate protective measures for all the species documented on site, as well as those that have the potential to occur on site. We will also be following all FWC regulations and guidelines pertaining to the gopher tortoise. And in looking at the preserve areas, so this proposed MCP has a total preserve area of 49.06 acres. That includes 28.95 acres of wetlands, 0.47 acres of surface waters, and 19.64 acres of uplands. All of the conservation areas will be enhanced through the removal of exotic vegetation. And in the areas that currently contain greater than 75% coverage of exotic species, will also be enhanced with the addition of supplemental plantings. All of our restoration plantings will adhere to the planting standards set forth in LDC, section 14-384. And as Dan mentioned previously, I just wanted to reiterate that this current site plan does increase our total conservation areas by 10.73 acres compared to the previously approved MCP. And that
And this is NCP wide, not just your portion. It's
just
entire-
just our portion of,
Okay, because
this
this
project.
resolution is going to apply to the whole development.
Absolutely.
So I want to be careful.
Just to be clear, we're not offsetting that increase with a decrease somewhere else. So,
It's a net increase overall to the PD.
exactly.
yes ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, not at this time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ted Shreesh with TR Transportation Consultants. We conducted the transportation analysis as part of this amendment to the PUD. We looked at the change in uses. This first slide indicates the full development is currently approved for the 2,300 units, 30,000 square feet of commercial uses is what will be approved. Right now, the development is already approved for 1,477 dwelling units, 75 hotels, and 100,000 square feet of commercial. So we're increasing the residential dwelling units and eliminating the hotel and decreasing the commercial square footage. So the trip generation is changing due to those change in uses. This table here, and I apologize, I meant to move that up a little bit because of the screen, but just highlights the trip generation change due to this amendment. And this is, again, looking at the entire PUD, not just our portion, but the entire PUD.
So is there any internal capture going on in this because of the
Yes.
commercial?
Yeah, there will
Is
be
that
some
analyzed?
internal capture. There will be some internal capture. It's a little bit reduced because the commercial's going from 100,000 down to 70,000.
Right.
But it is, there are 30,000, I'm sorry, but there will be some internal capture. So it is a small increase in the morning peak hour, just because we're going up in residential. Retail doesn't have a large trip generation in the morning, but we're having a decrease in the PM peak hour because obviously retail has a much higher trip generation in the PM peak hour. So that decrease in the retail square footage is offset by the increase in residential. So our PM peak hour is actually a little bit less in the PM peak hour. So regardless, we looked at the impacts on the road network, since there's nothing on this project in our portion. The northern portion of the project, Lennar is currently building. They do have active development orders on the north piece, north of the Milwaukee extension. But other than that, there's no units on any of the remainder. So we looked at the entire impacts of the project on the surrounding road network. We looked at the build-out year of 2030. The area roadway is all operated above level service E. There's several major road improvements that are being conducted in the area. The Alico Road extension's one. If I could just go back to one of the larger aerials. Let's see which one would be good. There's one that's zooms out. Thought we had one in the slide. Well, it's just off the aerial, off of this aerial. The Alico Road extension is coming up to 82, just off this aerial.
And it's going to tie into what road?
And will tie all the way down to the existing Alico Road where it curves south
And what does
and-
it tie to in Lehigh? What road?
at Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yeah. And that project is funded initially to be built now as a 2-lane road. The county, because of cost, is going to do it in phases, so the initial phase will just be a 2-lane road to connect to 82 so they could get it done faster. So that'll get another route for these residents in this portion of Lehigh to be able to get to areas to the west, such as Gulf Coast Town Center and the I-75 corridor. There's also a lot happening out here. I'm working on a development order project at this location here for a Walmart Supercenter, a Lowe's. So there's large retail that's coming out here to this area now that hasn't been present in this area of Lehigh Acres for the residents to be able to shop. We're getting ready to come in for a rezoning amendment on this parcel for additional retail. We're looking at the corner of Milwaukee and Homestead for additional retail. So there's many projects happening. Lennar is connecting Milwaukee to Beth Stacy. That project is going to be started here. Right now, this roadway does not connect through what's now called the Ibis Landing project. So that roadway will be connected. So you'll have a road network all the way up to the Lee Boulevard and Homestead corridor where there's additional shopping up here. So there's quite a bit of road improvements that are happening in the next few years that'll help the transportation network in this general area. But again, our analysis through 2030 showed that we'll operate at a level service E or above at the full development of this project. And again, that's the entire PUD, not just this section. So that's what I wanted to put on the record this afternoon. If you have any other additional questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, and so you're noting that there are transportation improvements in the area that are underway,
That are planned, yes, and that will be underway in the next 2 to 3 years.
and that includes the signalization of Alabama and Blackstone?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I noticed that some of the conditions are basically restatements of what's already required under the code, so I may be making some edits in my recommendation.
All right, Madam Hearing Examiner, again, for your record, Richard Aiken, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to mention that there are a few conditions, and Mr. Mendez and I spoke about this, that restatements of the code. There's also some conditions about requirements for extension of, for example, Milwaukee Boulevard. That's already been done, so there's some stuff that's complete, not really relevant anymore. I'm not sure that matters one way or the other if it stays in or goes out.
We have opinions. I like to keep it in. If the condition's satisfied, it's satisfied. I mean, there's no,
That's not a problem with us. And then there's some other stuff. So I don't have anything else to add on the presentation unless you have questions of us or on the 48-hour memo.
Yeah, I'm going to go through my questions, what I have.
Can I address the lake setback briefly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Mr. DeLisi and I just talked about this, so he'll tell me if I'm wrong as to where we are. The request is for 30 feet, a deviation from 50 feet to 30 feet. Okay, that's what we asked for. And so any new lakes that are constructed as part of this development, it's 30 feet. That's what we asked for. I don't think the code lets us go be below 25 feet, if I read it correctly anyway. So it has to be 30, and that's what we've asked for. What Mr. Wasco was pointing out is that there are some existing lake...
Zero setbacks because of existing conditions.
But they're not lakes that have to be excavated, so I don't think that that section of the code would apply. So I think we're just asking for the 30 feet for new excavation.
All right, so it's still new deviation in 11 and 12. It's just that we're rewriting it to say 30, not 0.
That is correct.
Okay, I got that.
Okay. And now you have questions.
Yeah, let me just go through. Okay, that one was answered. So total dwelling units will now be 2,300.
Correct.
Ten previously existing deviations, 2 new ones.
Correct.
What is happening with the gopher tortoises? Are they going to be preserved in place, or are they going to be relocated pursuant to a permit?
I'm gonna ask Bridget to come up and answer that question.
For the record, Bridget Terrio. So those that are located already within the conservation areas or the preserve areas will remain in place. Anything within the development footprint and within a 25-foot boundary as per FWC guidelines will be relocated off-site to a protected recipient site.
Okay, so it's a hybrid. The
Yes.
ones that are in
The ones that are in a
areas-
preserve are staying. The ones that are in development will be relocated off-site under a gopher tortoise permit.
So you'll get authorization from the FWC to relocate them, and it'll proceed under that track.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Are any of the on-site wetlands going to be impacted?
Yes, I believe the current wetland impacts are about 15.53 acres. And our on-site mitigation areas, as currently done, do, yes.
And the mitigation is addressed in the ERP.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is under a permit mod right now.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you just, I don't know who's going to do this, probably Dan. Can you go over the project access locations for this acreage that we're talking about today?
Yeah, good question. I meant to,
I mean, overall, what I saw was Lee, Milwaukee, Parkdale, and Grant for the overall MPD. But this area, what is the access to the road network?
so there's an access here to Grant.
Okay,
There's a cross-access to the school property.
right.
That's part of the overall MPD, but we're maintaining the access so that children can easily get to the school. And then there are multiple access points to Milwaukee,
I thought I saw 5, but now
and then
4. Okay,
this is to, I think this is Parkdale.
Parkdale.
Correct.
And then Grant, you already mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Those were all my questions. I'm ready for staff's presentation.
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, I'm Adam Mendez. I'm a principal planner with the Community Development Zoning Section. I have been previously qualified as an expert with respect to Lee County Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code, hoping to proceed today as such. I do have a copy of the staff PowerPoint presentation to add to the staff exhibit list. We did submit the affidavit of publication with the 48-hour response. And I do have a paper copy of that if you would like it.
I have a copy, thank you. The PowerPoint will be staff exhibit 3. Thank you. I appreciate the extra PowerPoints from everyone, thank you. One I am forbidden to write on, so this helps because I can then make notes.
Right. So I'll start off by just acknowledging that The staff report did go through a detailed history of the existing MPD zoning. We touched on that briefly today. Sometimes in a staff report that I helped prepare, I tried to go a little further back. And with respect to the underlying Mirror Lake subdivision plat, I wanted to provide a little additional information that wasn't in the staff report regarding kind of how we got here in sequential order. Of course, we've got this MPD that was rezoned and approved by the Board of County Commissioners in 1999 for approximately 1,577 dwelling units and 100,000 square feet of commercial and 77 hotel rooms. There was different rules and regulations at play at that time, which resulted in a long list of conditions which have now been condensed in the staff recommended conditions. Through subsequent amendments, density was modified in 2006. At that time, master concept plans would expire if no development activity occurred within a certain specified time frame. It did expire, so in 2006, there's a resolution that reinstated the master concept plan, and to my reading, it actually reinstated all of the conditions and then included a couple more conditions. 2 new conditions were a result of the 2006 resolution. So effectively, it superseded Z99049. It included all the primary backbone conditions and some new conditions. And in that, there was a reduction down to 1,477 dwelling units where we stand at today in terms of development potential. In 2010, there was the heavy tree commercial rezoning to disconnect the commercial pod that was part of this MPD originally, the 840-acre MPD. It brought it down about 18 acres to the current MPD acreage of 822 acres. Right now, as Mr. DeLisi referenced, there's a kind of quasi-government building, a government service here. This is owned by Lee County government. It has those commercial plan development zoning entitlements. It's now disconnected. So those are the 3 main resolutions that kind of shape this MPD. If I take a step back, we are in the Mirror Lakes subdivision plat. That's the underlying plat that was approved in 1973. In 1974, the Board of County Commissioners granted rezoning of parts of Greenbrier and Mirror Lakes from the general interim district at that time, GU and AU would have been the agricultural districts, to allow a spread of conventional residential and commercial districts. And so just to kind of orient ourselves here, this is a overall plat view of Mirror Lakes, pages 27 through 87, I believe. And just to orient ourselves, this is SR 82 carving through the site. So the subject property is generally located here within these units. And in the subsequent slides, I have superimposed the MCP just to give you an idea as to where we are. And there's going to be different transparency levels. So as I go in, you can see the MCP. It's kind of faint. It shows kind of the boundaries of where this MPD falls. It falls wholly within the Mirror Lakes plat on the north side of 82. And then again, here we have the MCP overlaid over the Mirror Lakes plat as closely as I could to the tract lines, or I'm sorry, the unit lines. So this is a pretty accurate superimposed MCP over the current plat that's going to be replatted. I will note that this has currently been replatted. This is that northern portion that's been subject to development order and building permit approval. So that has now been effectively replatted from the original Mirror Lakes platting. But the 1970s, there was this platting exercise and rezoning exercise where lots of record were created. I'm not sure how many lots of record were created, but that wasn't the appetite for the developer at that time, so they rezoned through the PD process in 1999. This is just a typical section of a Mirror Lake subdivision plat. This is a single unit, as you can see in this particular slide here. These are there's approximately 84 units collectively, both north and south of SR 82, but this is just one of those units, the lots of record that were created in the underlying subdivision plat that's currently intact in most of the MPD, certainly all of the applicant's acreage. We are currently within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area, has been discussed in presentation. You can see the general outline of the MPD boundary right here where this orange arrow is indicating the green boundary here. Firmly within that is the Lehigh Acres Community Plan overlay. It's a map within the Lee Plan that strategizes how the community plan is going to better balance land uses given the antiquated subdivision plat that platted most lands for single-family residential uses. So in an effort to try to rebalance uses and reduce impacts on the rest of the county for a more balanced approach to land uses here, we have this map here. And you can see the subject property again outlined in green. It is wholly within Tier 1. Tier 1 in a hierarchy sense is going to be the core, the urban core. You heard Mr. Treesh discussing all of the projects coming online within proximity of this, this particular MPD. It's not a surprise that those are all happening relatively close to the urban core or the Tier 1 area of Lehigh. You can also see there's some commercial overlay pieces within the MPD acreage. The subject property itself, however, does not, and when I say subject property, I'd say the applicant-controlled acreage doesn't have any commercial overlays within their acreages. This is the master concept plan proposed. I don't have much comments on here, but I did want to just for reference show you the breakdown of ownership. This helped me in kind of understanding these moving pieces. So I'm going to just start from the top. These are the acreages that Lennar has went through the development order approval, 2 development orders referenced in the staff report, and has platted out several hundred single-family and townhome lots. Those are currently developed. They're on the north side of Milwaukee. Then you have the applicant acreage, which is emboldened on the MCP. You also have the Lee County School Board District right here surrounding these lakes in this southwest portion of the MCP. And then you have Lennar and Milrose properties, which may be under the same umbrella in terms of ownership, but they own the remaining 112 acres. So I tried to assume some acreages here to provide a little more detail on where the controlling entities are in this, this MCP. We are in agreement with the applicant's revision. Is a good catch. The original MCP labeled that area as tract T1. The proposed MC changed that to tract K, so this revision is necessary to make sense of this deviation condition of approval. There are some conditions that were eliminated in an effort to recognize that the code recognizes and regulates model homes. There is by virtue of condition 1C of almost every resolution, you have to be consistent with the comp plan. That means the acreages in the tables at time of DO. And then the Lee County concurrency management standards, those aren't enforced anymore at time of development order. That's another condition that staff just eliminated. So these are the conditions from the 2006 resolution that are explicitly removed from the resolution. I wanted to be clear about that. There's certainly opportunity to perhaps put a finer point on eliminating some other conditions that are reinstatements of code. The 2 additional deviations that were approved or that are recommended for approval with this request have been discussed at length here, so I won't get into them. The recommendation before you is of a 30-foot setback standard. And so with that, staff's recommendation, as you see in the staff report, is recommendation of approval. Happy to address any questions from the applicant or you, Madam Hearing Examiner.
I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. I felt well prepared for this hearing based on the staff report and applicant's narrative, and I appreciate your detailed presentations. We're going to turn now to the public, and I'm going to start calling out names from these sheets I have, but if you didn't fill out one of these sheets, you'll still have an opportunity to speak. We'll start with Derek Felder, and he will be followed by Andrea Keppel.
Afternoon. Derek Felder for the record, member of the Lehigh Acres Architectural Review Planning Zoning Board. Speaking on behalf of myself, though. Let's see. So obviously the main concern that everyone's concerned about with this project and proposal is going to be the density increase. I just want to note that while they're increasing from 1477 to 2300 units, that they are decreasing the commercial space from 100,000 square feet and 75 hotel rooms down to 30,000 square feet. So that's kind of why the increase in density is obviously justified, because you're losing a substantial amount of commercial space. We noted the schools and the school properties, mentioned the fire station earlier. I did want to mention that the parcel in red at Milwaukee and Homestead is also owned by the library for a future library. Well, it's owned by Lee County, but it's going to be a library, hopefully, in the future. With this project, I would assume that there will be a sidewalk added on the south side of Milwaukee Boulevard for the whole property length. Currently, Lennar has done the sidewalk on the north side of Milwaukee Boulevard.
We'll ask for clarification on that from the applicant during the conclusion.
You're increasing preservation. We mentioned the Walmart and Lowe's coming to the area. We mentioned the street signals coming to Alabama, Blackstone, signal and whole new intersection at the Sunshine Alico extension. At that same intersection, Alico extension, Sunshine 82 will be a high school, middle school, and elementary school also. Not sure which ones are currently in the works. I think the middle school might be currently in development. The high school is going to be the last one, I think, at that site, because they're doing the high school up at Joe and Tuckahoe first. Deviation 12, we talked about the setback with the lakes and all that. I want to say that that's been discussed at previous hearings, and there was something about a fence potentially being proposed when that occurs. I could be wrong, but I thought I remember fences being talked about whenever we're
All right, we'll ask for clarification. on
decreasing that amount at previous meetings. We mentioned that Lamson has control over the canals and whatnot. I did want to note that right here, Lamson has a pump, and they've actually pumped water into this area. So the canal runs here, here, and there's another pump approximately here someplace, but they pump water into this preserve, and they pump water in here, and fill that, and it drains into the ground. So those are not necessarily just outflows, they are actually where they pump water into to recharge the ground also. Alico Road was mentioned being 2 lanes. I did want to say that that's 2 lanes first to get it going, and then immediately they're doing the other 2 lanes. So it will be a 4-lane road, 2 each way. And the other question was, is it planned to be gated communities or not? At our previous meeting, we didn't really know. Didn't know if you had any more insight on whether it'll be gated or not.
Yeah, I have, don't really have a lot of control over that if they don't request a deviation.
No, I was
from
just
the
curious
gate
if-
standards, yeah.
Curious if they have an answer.
All right, if they know, maybe they'll share that information. Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Andrea Keppel. Good afternoon, thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. This is my first time, so,
This is a friendly crowd.
okay. My first home, so I'm curious what's going to happen to the environment in the area. The smaller houses that are being built, I'm just curious to know, are they duplexes? Or are they, because there's multifamily homes, or they're talking about smaller ones. I'd like to know that. And is it possible to get this slideshow? Will it be available online?
It will be uploaded online. If you wait a few minutes, I can ask my staff to make a copy for you.
That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll pay for it. Let me see, is the city, okay, I understand that the wetland area is controlled by,
Lamson.
yes. Are they prepared to handle the influx of the amount of people that are going to be there? Like he was just saying that one community at the top is going to have, they're not going to change anything with them because it's going into a canal. That's fine, but he's saying that now that that's also pumping back into here too, the area that's going to have an influx. That's going to be coming across Parkdale, and that's where I live. So then that's when it affects me. I just want to know that the city is already prepared for that influx on my end. Across the street from my house, the ditch, I'm on the corner, and the water goes, everybody comes to my corner and goes across the street, but it misaligns. across the street, the part that's supposed to get it to the canal misaligns, and my yard gets flooded a lot. So if they're gonna increase that amount and put it over to Parkdale into the canals on this side, it's going to affect me. So I need to know that they're going to dig the ditches and make sure that it makes it to its destination, that they're gonna make sure.
We'll ask them to clarify that for you.
Yes, yes, ma'am, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? If you're going to speak, you have to come to the podium and state your name. Okay, good, great.
You say something about a form, but we are already like a little late, so we have to fill that out.
Okay, come up to the microphone and say it again.
So you say something about a form that the public had to fill?
Yeah, over there by the door, it's called a public participation form. If you fill that out, you don't have to put your home address, but if you put your email, we will send a copy of my recommendation and notice of the board hearing to
Okay.
your email.
Okay, thank you. Same idea, like I don't know too much about this, a lot of technical stuff, but I was just wondering, because we're on the Savanna Lakes, so that's like the property that we live at right now. And so I don't know if this was addressed or not, I don't know if I did not understand or not, but like the area we live is around the Amber Road, and we have like a community side where you have like a gym and a pool and stuff like that. I just didn't see address, like if you're increasing the amount of homes or like the amount of properties that it's being built, if that has been addressed, like in terms of like crowded places, like if we have been taking into account like the amount of people that are gonna be there, like, because right now the community is not like big enough, but like at the point where like all the families coming and everything, how is the pool side or how is the gym is gonna be affected? Are they planning to do another, community side so that the crowd doesn't get too much at certain times?
Your question is whether this amendment is going to provide for community facilities to serve the additional dwellings.
Yeah.
We'll ask them to clarify that, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. So yes. Yeah, no, that was mainly my question. I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for raising it.
Thank you.
Give us an opportunity to provide additional information. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, I'll take that as a no. We will close public input and we will return to the parties. Okay, a couple of questions were raised by members of the public. If I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break, give you an opportunity to discuss it, and then we'll come back on the record and staff and applicant can address those questions. Thank you. We may begin.
For the record, again, Richard Aiken on behalf of the applicant. So I just want to try to answer some of the questions that the public raised here. So first of all, there was a question raised about amenities. So there is on the master concept plan right here, it's R, and I'm showing it on the slideshow here. R is a private on-site amenity location for the development that's identified. Also, the schedule of uses provides for recreation facilities, private on-site, so that's something that would be allowed. In speaking to some of the members of the public during our break, I believe some of them live in the Lennar area or up here in the north, and any of the private on-site amenities that are as part of another development, the residents of this community wouldn't be able to use. It would be off-sites or off-limits to them. So yes, we do plan to have that on our site to address that for our ultimate residents in this location. There was a question from Mr. Felder about whether we will be required to construct sidewalks along the south side of Milwaukee Boulevard. So the answer that I would give is that I believe 10256 requires it in this instance, and so that's something that would have to be done at the time of development order. We have not asked for deviation from it. So the next question that was out there was about drainage. And one of the members of the public had concerns about increased flows potential from drainage and whether the canal's capacity and Lambs had the ability to handle the drainage that may come from this development. So Mr. Wasco did say in his presentation, I'll just reiterate this, that while we are amending the ERP, we are not increasing the flows that are going to come off site from the ERP, right? So there's an existing ERP on this site that has allowed flows into those canals and into those specific points where we discharge into the Lambs system. The flows as part of the amended ERP are not increasing. So if they were designed and approved by the state previously in order to accept those flowways, they would be able to do so now. To the extent that there may be concern about sheet flow or water flowing currently, right now, as nothing has been developed and much of the part of the ERP hasn't been put in, the idea would be that this would solve, hopefully, some of those problems. We are required to manage, as part of the ERP, our water discharge. So the system is designed to handle that. There was a question about fences. And I'm not sure I fully understood the question, Mr. Felder. I believe the question was in those areas where we have asked for the deviation from 50 to 30 feet around lake excavation, whether there would be fences around those lakes. That's how I understood it. The answer is that that's not part of the conditions. Many of these other Lambs and canals within Lehigh Acres currently don't have fences around them. In some locations, it's likely that there might be a fence depending on how it gets constructed, whether it winds up being a gated community, whether it winds up having a gate or a wall around it. There may, in fact, in certain situations be that. However, it's not required as part of the conditions of approval, nor are we suggesting that it should be required. Finally, there was a question about whether it will be a gated community. The answer is most likely it will be a gated community, although at this stage of the game, I can't state that with 100% certainty. There were also questions about what type of residential units will be within the development. So the conditions of approval allow for single-family, duplex, two-family attached, townhouse, and multifamily. That's all in the proposed approved resolution. It's hard to say exactly at this point in time what that will be. Part of that will be determined by the market at the time of development order, but it could be any number of those mix of units. And again, the idea here as part of the amending this master concept plan and this zoning is to allow for a greater diversity of housing types in Lehigh Acres so that you don't just have the same type over and over again, because we do understand and believe that many of the residents of the area and people looking to move to the area like to have some sort of options when they're looking for a place to live. So with that, I believe that I've addressed all the questions, unless there are any that you think I haven't. I would like to add one other thing for the record, because I think given some new case law that might be coming out or has come out, I have to say one other thing. I have to object that I don't believe that the individuals, members of the public, have established standing on the record here today for the purposes of challenging any action that may come at a later date. So I just want to put that on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, do you have any concluding remarks?
None here. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner.
Okay, it sounds like I don't need to leave the record open for any additional evidence or revised documents, so I will close the record. and I will start to work on my recommendation. I hope to have something out within the next 2.5 weeks. For those of you who provided your email address, you will get a copy of my recommendation via email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.